Ms. Masuku, are you in a position to continue?
Yes, Commissioner, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Ms. Masuku, you may, when you're ready.
Thank you, Commissioners. Apologies for the small.
There is no need to apologize at all.
Hi, Commissioners. What I just wanted to place on record was that we do go under very serious threats on a daily basis when we're doing our investigations. Because we investigating the law enforcement officers that commit crime and they don't want to be arrested. But that doesn't stop us from doing our duties. We continue to do our duties even though we will know that our lives are at risk. As I had indicated to say, my car was once shot at. I was with my kids. It passed. I continued with my duties as normal. But there is a time where my son was also shot. We thank God he didn't pass on, but his life changed from that day because he was wheelchair bound. But thank you to the Lord that he can try to walk now.
This was a second incident.
My son was the first. My son was the first incident,
Yeah.
and then my car was the second incident.
All right. And just give us the dates of both incidents again, please.
Commissioners, with your permission, maybe if I would be able to give to the SC.
All right. No,
yes,
no.
And not give them.
No,
yeah.
That's in order.
I confirm. I'll receive them and I shall inform the commissioners accordingly. Thank you.
Yes.
Are you able to say whether it was after you had taken over the investigation?
For my car, it was when I was doing this investigation. For my son, it was when I was doing other investigations whereby it was involving a lot of officers in one case. Our office was made aware as well of the threats because those threats, they had come in a form of something was being prearranged by the members to get a hitman. Then during their arrangements, somebody in the midst of the arrangements, it's somebody who knew me. Then that person got the opportunity to give me a call to say, I'm not sure if, because I'm not mentioning the name, but by the description they are giving, I think in your department, they are talking about you. And when the last time I saw the news, I saw that you were the one who was busy with a certain case which was in the news, whereby a number of officers you had arrested. We notified the department, and then the department took action on that because as a result, on the day when the department was notified of that, the department managed to say, all of us in our office, we must carry firearms. Then the threats, remember, commissioners, that I'm receiving threats today, but tomorrow I must wake up and go to work. As the threats, those threats were very serious because I knew what was being planned towards me. it's very difficult also to say it to my family, to say, this is what I've received, because of now, for them, they will panic. Even if I share it, I find a way of sharing it. I had to do bail application. It was done, it passed until the case was finalized. But in the midst of that, that is when in between my son was shot. And the reason I'm pinning it to this, to that matter I'm talking about, it's because of my son during that period. He was the one that was driving me, trying to protect me. When I leave home, he will drive me to work. When I visit the stations, he will be my driver. So they realized to say, there was nothing he was going to do. He doesn't have a gun. But he just said, I will be with you. So I think they realized to say, maybe for me to feel the pain, or maybe because they didn't know if he's got a gun or what, then it was said, if we eliminate him, then I will be left alone. But it didn't stop me from doing my duties. I continued as I'm continuing living today. So I just wanted to relate to the commissioners and South Africa to know, to say, if they see delays like this in the cases that we do, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Every case has got an explanation as to what is the reason you took that delay. We have reason, we at IPID that are investigating law enforcement officers. You, Commissioner, I had in court, because I was scared of the guy, of the members, I don't want to lie, but I had to put a brave face and face them and said to them, I heard what you're planning. Here's my home address. If you need me, come to my house and find me there. And then I left them. But when I left them, I asked myself as to, if they come, what am I going to do?
Thank you, Ms. Masuku, and thank you for your bravery.
Can I just ask, Ms. Masuku, what does the employer, the IPID employer, what does it do when there are situations like these? Firstly, I think we did hear yesterday, and you're repeating that it is a job hazard, firstly, that you would be confronted with these kind of situations. But surely the IPID should have something in place that whose sole purpose, whether it's a policy, but in addition to policy, resources in place which are to provide protection to, and different levels of protection, I accept that, to its investigators. Is there anything? Is there nothing? And what there is, and I would like you to comment to the extent that you are comfortable to comment, whether what you know to be in place is adequate, in your opinion.
Commissioner, what I will comment on is what I was involved in, like the one whereby we were offered protection. But like I explained to say, it was in our residential places. We must leave and go to work. But at least when you are at work, you are at ease to say my family is protected. But what about myself? Commissioner, I won't respond to on behalf of the department as to they take these threats serious up to which level. because I only tell myself to say maybe it can be taken that serious if it faces somebody that is straight to your family. Yes, I appreciate that we were protected for that period. I appreciate.
As you say, the protection was static, was at your house. And as you were conducting investigations, you were doing that without mobile protection, if that's a correct word.
That's a very correct, Commissioners. We do have the security department within the department. Even now, they are in contact with us. I don't know what will come out of it, because before I came here, I said to them, I'm going there to show my face. And then as from Monday next week, I must be on duty. I must work. I must be out working. Which roads of South Africa will I drive and be safe? Because, Commissioners, I'm the one investigating this case. I understand each and every piece of it, inside it. I understand that some of the suspect has passed on. I have an understanding as to what led or what was happening. The case, Commissioners, it's towards the end of it now. Then it will get to a point whereby suspects must be arrested. I must do bail application in court. But after that, where do I go? That's the thing. With who? So, Commissioners, I don't have a response on behalf of the department.
No, thank you. Thank you for your response.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy, and thank you, Ms. Masuku. We are now at page 15 of your statement.
Yes, Commissioners.
And I think we are moving on to paragraph 58.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe before you do that, Ms. Hill, I had wanted to ask to understand something. In this paragraph 57, Ms. Masuku, the sentence that's in the first line, which says, firstly, the police involvement had to be proven as unlawful, as there were no official leads at the accounting police station to prove that the officers carried their duties on the day. That part. What does it mean? I mean, we do have statements from I think it's Sibande. You have that statement from Fritz. So we know from their statements that they did attend to the scene. And from their statements, they claim to have been in their official capacities. Right? If there's no record at the police station, maybe let me ask a first question. The process when police officers get, call it an invitation to attend to a scene or a job, as in this case, in terms of recording, what is the procedure or what is the operating procedure? And if in the end you end up without any official leads that tell you that these people were on duty, what in fact does it mean happened here?
Okay, Commissioners, I will respond relating to this matter. Yes, I do have records that proves that they were on duty on the day. But now I needed to follow allegations of Marius during my interview to say there was a robbery that resulted to the truck that they went to search for the stock. I must go to the station to check if there is a case they were investigating on the day. Because there's scene where the deceased stay falls under Brakpan police station. That is where I must start. They didn't have anything that relates to the truck. But we managed to get a case whereby we got a case number from Marius to say this is the case number we were investigating. Upon getting the copies of that docket and interviewing the investigating officer of that docket to say, did you knew of any investigation on your case that was done on this house on this day? Were you informed? Because it's your docket. Then he said no. And that docket was already filed at the storeroom. And when you go through the statement, there is nothing that tells you to say why they landed to that house. Yes. That is the reason, Commissioner, I am saying I had to prove to say the officers, because whenever they go to wherever they go, they are performing official duties if they are on duty. Even if somebody loses their life, but it should be in a process of official duties. So for their involvement there, it should be said because they drove state cars to that house. That means it was officially. So they must give something in black and white to say, this is what we're doing officially. In a process, this is what happened. So they don't have that. So for me, it helps me to prove a point of criminality to say they were doing their own things. It was not about the duties they're supposed to perform. Yes.
Thank you.
In the olden days, Ms. Masuku, police used to carry what was called a pocketbook. Does that still exist? Do you know?
It still exists, commissioners, to some of the members. And then some of the members, they will say, no, it was finished, I don't have it. And then you can't force him to say, give one. And even if he had it, if he knows that something that is written there will put me in trouble, then they will say, no, I lost it. Then there is nothing you can do. Yes. But there should be records like an occurrence book, which is a register. You must get something like, I was hoping to get something on occurrence book regarding the incident of that house to say we went to this house, we searched because we were looking for the truck, we found the truck, and then that's it. So that if they were doing their duties, they were going to make that entry if they were doing their duties. They are doing it because they are saying there was no one, they didn't find the owner of the house, all of them. But that means they broke open the house because the house was ransacked because the owner was not there. So to cover themselves to say we didn't steal anything, they must go back to the station to say we went to this house searching for this. We found 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the owner was not there. Then nothing was taken at the scene. But they failed to do that entry. And secondly, they were looking for the truck that they find there according to them. They find the truck, it was parked in the yard. I was expecting them to, if it was not drivable, to pull out the truck, take it to the pound because it's involved in a crime. Then they book it there. But they find the truck there, they left the truck there. So there was no official duties they were performing. They were doing their own thing.
So in short, there is no record of this operation on the sub's records?
No, commissioners. According to them, it was initiated by a private person. Then they took instructions from the private person.
Thank you.
Even the EMPD officers who say they interviewed the tenant and her children. Remember, there's one EMPD officer, I won't mention the name, but I saw in the statement. They say while subs was busy in the main house, they went in the back rooms or something like that, and there was a tenant with her 2 children, and they interviewed the tenant who told them that the owner is not there. Even those EMPD officers don't have a record of when they were there and what they did when they got there.
No, they don't have any records, Commissioner. What they have is the story they are telling here. But they must give something officially to say, when I was there, this is where I was working, this is how I received this complaint, I had to go there. But their complaint came from a private person. So they took instruction from a private person to go and do the search, of which is not allowed.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Ms. Masuku. We were about to turn to your paragraph 58, and if you could pick up your testimony from there. Thank you.
Further, I did not personally attend a primary scene where the deceased was killed. Only SAPS officials had attended the scene. Accordingly, it was necessary to conduct a thorough and methodical investigation prior to effecting any arrest. In addition, we were struggling to locate material witnesses. The original witness, who had been a tenant at the property of Mr. Mbense, vacated the premises shortly after the murder, fearing for his and his family's safety, and couldn't be traced. We were only able to trace him with the assistance of the family in October 2025. This fact is confirmed by an email received from the family dated the 26th of January 2026. I attach an email as Annexure NPM 7.
Your NPM 7 that you reference is in the annexure bundle at page 143, if you could turn to that. 143, Commissioner. Are you there, Ms. Masuku?
Yes, I'm there, Commissioners.
Now, at page 143 is an email I see. It's from somebody. It's dated January 26, 2026 at 2:20 p.m. It's addressed to you with a copy to the other investigator in your team.
That's correct, Commissioners.
It has as a subject line, murder case, Brakpan, and in brackets, MadlangaCommission, and then it's got a number attached to it. Do you see that?
I see that, Commissioners.
Is this the email you say at your paragraph 58 you received from the family in October 2025? No, this is the email you say you received on the 26th of January 2025, 26.
That's correct, Commissioners.
Now, it's a very short email. I think it would be helpful if you read it into the record, but please do not read the details of the author of this particular email and their contact details as appear at the bottom of that page. Thank you.
Hi, Sis Nomsa. In light of the media statements released, I would like to clarify the below from the family. 1. At no point did we allude nor state that IPID and investigators did not carry out their duties due to fear or any threats while conducting the investigation. I do confirm that we did inform them that IPID has carried out all that is required on their end, and decision will be on the NPA. In brackets, notes, no timelines were given. Point 3, IPID has kept us up to date several times with calls and visits to our residents in Soweto and Brakpan. IPID's door was open to us at all times. The only thing we were not aware of was details shared on the commission, as we assume these details were confidential to the docket and not public knowledge. Even to us, not to public knowledge, even to us as the family. But we are fully aware and understand that delays occur with an investigation of this magnitude. We are also fully aware that having to locate one of the witnesses who was a tenant at our premises, who had moved and changed numbers, but by God's grace, he visited in 2025, and we could then share the details with the investigators, which IPID later informed me that they have communicated with the witness and had obtained the critical statement from him. That's the end of the email.
Thank you. Now, the statement that it said at item 4 of the email that you obtained after the tenant had contacted, by God's grace, the family. Did you obtain such a statement?
That's correct, Commissioners.
At paragraph 58 on page 16 at the top of the page, your last sentence reads, I obtained this witness's statement on 20th October 2025. I attached the statement as NMP, supposed to be NPM, apologies, 7.1. Is that the statement you are referring to?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Your NPM, then 7.1 is in your annexure bundle at page 144. Just cast your eye on it to confirm that that is the statement you say you obtained in October 25 from the tenant. It runs to page 147.
That's correct, Commissioners.
So as we understand it, then that is the statement of the tenant who was in the original house during the day that Mr. Mbense lost his life.
That's correct, Commissioner.
We will not deal with its contents. That's a matter for court.
That's correct.
But just to confirm, it's now at hand.
I wanted to ask something.
Yes, Commissioner.
If you go back to page 12, Ms. Masuku,
Of
of the annexure bundle. Page 12, remember that memo to the NPA in 2022, December?
That's correct.
The reason I'm taking you back there, if you look at A5 on page 12, so you've got the case docket content, that's your table of contents, and in A5, you've got a person's statement. And I see that it is the same tenant whose statement appears on page 140. It starts on 144. And you say you obtained this one on the 20th of December, 2025.
That's
So
correct,
I'm just
Commissioner.
wondering, the statement that formed part of your memorandum to the NPA in 2022, which one was it?
It's the same person, Commissioners.
Yes, but which statement is that one? Was it obtained by you also?
No, it's the one I'm saying the police officers on the 15th,
Yes.
they find the witness. They got the statement.
Oh, they already had his statement
Yes,
on the
but-
15th.
Yes, Commissioner, but it's not in detail.
Okay.
It's just a short version. It's creating a lot of questions that needed to be answered. So we had to re-interview him so that he can answer those questions. Hence, we had to trace him so that we can retake a statement.
Now it makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kumalo. Ms. Masuku, I think we have decided not to unpack the contents of NPM 7.1, the statement itself. We'll leave that for the trial court. Then I think we can move to your paragraph 59.
At the relevant time, we had obtained DNA samples from the crime scene. These were sent to the SAPS Forensic Laboratory, which was able to confirm a complete DNA result. The report of the Forensic Laboratory is attached as Annexure NPM 8. Unfortunately, these results could not be matched to any data within SAPS forensic system. It was retained as a control sample.
If I may then interrupt you there, that NPM 8, yes, is at your page 148, and you say that is the forensic report obtained from the crime scene.
That's correct, Commissioners.
This document, firstly, is undated, though signed. It doesn't bear a date. But I note at page 148 that it has as a reference station Duduza CAS 2022. On my understanding of your evidence, that was the inquest number, the Duduza number.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And at paragraph 3, the author of that report states that on 22/04/2020 at 22:29, I attended an inquest scene at that address for the presence of possible clues and forensic exhibits.
That's
So it
correct.
sounds, my understanding of that document is that the exhibits were collected on the 20th of April 2022, about 5 days after the incident.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And then here it lists the exhibits that were obtained at the scene. There are 2 of them there. Do you confirm?
I do confirm, Commissioners.
Now, when you say at paragraph 59, you rely on this document. And you say in your last line, unfortunately, these results could not be matched to any data within the SAPS forensic systems. It was retained as a control sample. Are we to understand that having obtained these swabs, they were tested in the normal course, they were compared against information that is already stored on the SAPS forensic system, but unfortunately did not return a result to identify any specific person? Am I understanding you correctly?
That's correct, Commissioners.
And then you say it was retained as a control sample.
That's correct.
What's a control sample for those of us perhaps who don't live in that world?
The control sample, Commissioners, it's a sample whereby we'll have to get a secondary sample to compare it to this one, the control one, so that it can help us to say, yes, we found this cigarette butt, we'll take it as a control sample at a scene of death. Then we retain it at DNA. And then later on, if somebody has been arrested that we think he's the suspect, we take his DNA to test it, comparing it to that part that was found there as a control sample. Then if it matches or it doesn't match, then that is how we get. So that one, those were the samples that were found at the deceased home.
Yes.
So they had to be tasted because there was a thought to say somebody should have touched this. So we can find DNA on this. Then, yes, there was DNA that was found, but it has to be retained up until we get something to compare it with.
Okay. Then you take it up from paragraph 60, if you... before you...
Must I read the annexure at 148 and 149 to mean that a Red Bull can was... Sorry? What? Sorry? I'm being advised by my co-commissioners not to mention what
Yes. I think what the witness wanted to testify to was that DNA was picked up in 2022.
from a certain object.
Yes, and then it was tested and stored, and we leave it there. So we don't want to go into the detail of the nature or the source of the DNA from the crime scene. Thank you, Chair.
Perhaps I guess we need some guidance beforehand. Because, thank you.
No. We've kept away from those parts that we don't want to talk about successfully thus far, and we're almost at the tail end.
Thank you.
So what the witness is then going to talk to next is another forensic report. The witness is going to talk.
Yes, please continue.
Then the chair said I should warn the commissioners. After this report, we are going to talk of another forensic report, which once again references DNA. We will just talk briefly to results, and again, we will not, go into detail. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Ello.
Ms. Masuku, I then had invited you to turn to your paragraph 60.
Yes, I'm there, Commissioners.
Yes, you may take it from there.
Following Marius van der Merwe's assassination and considering his testimony before the Commission, the SAPS requested me to engage with the persons we had taken warning statements from to see if they would be willing to submit their DNA in investigation of murder of Marius for purposes of eliminating them as the suspects. I was able to secure their cooperation. I explained the purpose for which their DNA was sought, and they all attended to the SAPS forensic laboratory. I missed science. I was supposed to say forensic science laboratory for DNA swabs to be obtained.
Yes. May continue.
Following the submission of their respective DNA, I requested that a comparison of their respective DNA to be compared with a control sample of from Mr. Mbense's case. A positive result was returned. I attached annexure NPM 9, a copy of this report. I request be kept confidential so as not to undermine the criminal trial.
Your annexure NPM starts at page 150. 150.
Yes, I'm there, Commissioners.
And I note from this report, it's filed by, I guess, the scientists who undertook these investigations, and she states that she's attached to the SAPS biology section of the Forensic Science Laboratory. That is at paragraph 2. You see that?
Yes, I do, Commissioner.
At page 154, that's the signature page. And it is signed by the person whose name appears at page 150. And it's dated at Pretoria, 14 January 2026.
That's correct, Commissioners.
So this is our second forensic report.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And in your statement, you say after the DNA of your suspects and Mr. Mbense's case was obtained, you requested that all their DNA be run against your control samples.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And you state here that the results obtained were positive.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And that is contained in annexure NPM 9.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And in particular, I would like to refer you to page 151. Which demonstrates the comparison of what you call control samples and the investigation that was then conducted on the 14th of January 2026, as the report tells us at paragraph 3. And it specific individuals are identified, or certain identities or specifications are set out therein. We don't have to read its detail. Is that the positive result that you speak of at your paragraph 61?
That's correct, Commissioners. These are the positive results that came out. As you can see, Commissioners, that in that same document, each and every page, it's got lab number, but it entails different lab numbers. And it's got 2 different case numbers as well. So it explains to say the case number below, it's Marius's death case number. The case number up, it's Mr. Mbense's case number. So all those DNA, including Marius's DNA, was also taken from the mortuary. All those DNA were run against the control sample, whereby we did manage to get the positive results.
And on that score, if I may draw your attention to page 152, same report. And if one has regard to paragraph 5.1 in the second line, that references Duduza case 91/04/2022. That's Mr. Mbense's murder case, correct?
That's correct.
And thereafter at 5.2, it then references Brakpan case 75/12/2025. That's Mr. Van der Merwe's assassination.
That's correct.
And the rest of the document from 5.2 to 5.6 is specifically then regarding Mr. Marius's assassination.
That's
or
correct,
murder.
Commissioners.
So it deals with both cases, but it separates them at page 152 to get, and sets out the results arising from the investigations in respect of both cases. Am I
That's
understanding the document correctly?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Then we are back in your statement from paragraph 62.
Investigations were necessary to be carried over prior to making arrest in order to ensure compliance with the provisions of Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977 and to secure prospects of successful prosecution. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate's standard operation procedures expressly direct that arrests are not affected for the purpose of conducting the investigation. Arrests are effected once proper and thorough investigation has been concluded and where sufficient admissible evidence exists to establish a reasonable suspicion based on the objective facts that suspects have committed offense as contemplated in Section 40 of the Criminal Procedure Act. Any arrest effected in compliance with these requirements is neither premature nor unlawful, but is procedurally and substantively justified. Arresting suspects prior to the completion of the investigative steps would have been premature, resulting in persistent postponements of the trial pending completion of criminal investigation and would in any event be inconsistent with the requirements of the Criminal Procedure Act. On the above statement, Commissioners, I am trying to express that should we have effected arrest before the investigation was completed, let's say we arrested them in 2022, now we are in 2026. Our case, maybe we were going to be having 30% to say 30% we do have a strong case, but 70% we don't have a strong case. So to avoid that, it's for us to conduct a thorough investigation because we know that all these people, they are here. Unfortunately, some of them died. As now, we had 12, then 4 died, including the recent one, Mr. Pretorius. So now we are left with 8. And all of them, they die as a result of shooting. So it was worth it. I know that there will be questions to say, but it was worth it, but others have died. Unfortunately, we couldn't control that, but it was worth it to investigate it fully because if now we make arrest, our case docket is ready for trial. So if they go to court, the trial date will be set very soon, and we are sure that we'll be getting conviction on this matter because it has been thoroughly investigated. So we avoided the prematurely arrest to be done because it was end up putting us in a lot of pressure whereby we were going to even overlook some of the facts because we are being pushed by the time. That's what I'm trying to explain on this paragraph to the commissioners. I understand that there was a delay and I acknowledge that, but that delay, it was not purposely to say I just closed the file and put it there. I didn't do that. The investigation was continuing, even though it had to stop and go, but at the end, the investigation has been now finalized. Then anytime there will be the next step that will be done.
Thank you, Ms. Masuku, for that clarification. Staying then at your page 17, you have a small heading there, the status of the matter, and you deal with that from paragraph 63. If you could then deal with the contents of 63 and following as regards the status of this matter.
Okay. The status of the matter. Following the conclusion of the investigations, and on the 4th of February 2026, I prepared and forwarded 3 reports as required by the law, attaching the complete docket, each report to the following institutions. A formal IPID report to the DPP recommending the institution of criminal proceedings against 12 suspects identified on page 1 of the report is attached NPM 10, a copy of this report.
If you may then turn to your annexure bundle, your NPM 10 starts at page 155.
Okay, I'm there, commissioners.
I see it's the DPP memorandum addressed to the Director of Public Prosecutions. And at the last page of that document, at page 159, it's dated by yourself and your provincial head, and both of you signed and dated it the 4th of February 2026. Is that correct?
That's correct, commissioners.
Going back then to page 155, I see that it bears an acknowledgement of receipt stamp by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions of the 4th of February 2026.
That's correct, commissioners.
Now, once again, you recall when we read the first 2022 referral.
That's correct.
Commissioner Kumalo requested you to read the subject line. And do you confirm it's still the same, which is IPID investigation case docket for DPP consideration and decision?
That's correct, commissioners.
And in terms of the IPID classification, once again, you referenced section 28, 1B of the IPID Act, and it remains death as a result of police action, and the alleged offense you reflect as murder.
That's correct, commissioners.
I'll come back to that page, and going back then to page 158. As with the previous 2022 report to the DPP, you have the IPID request and the conclusion at page 158.
That's correct.
My reading is that once again, under the request, item 4, you note that it is the request of the IPID that the NPA should, in terms of section 179 sub 2 of the Constitution, make a decision whether or not to institute criminal proceedings against the above mentioned suspects and to carry out any necessary functions incidental to instituting criminal proceedings.
That's correct, sir.
So once again, now February 2026, you have significantly updated your docket as we have it, and you submit to the DPP requesting a decision and as regards the institution of criminal proceedings against the suspects.
That's correct, commissioners.
Now, I compared page 155, the front page, with the list of suspects you had in 2022. And notably, I see new names on that list. And I think your second suspect, your third, I think my comparison was you have 2 new suspects on that. If you could read out their names, you recall that your original report to the DPP is at page 11 of 2022. It starts at page 11, the
Yes,
2022 memorandum. And
correct.
on my count, there you have 10 suspects.
Yes, Commissioners, I had 10.
And then on your 2026 report at page 155, there are now 12 suspects. I see 2 new additional names at page 155. Who are they and how did they come to be added to the list? Thank you.
Okay, the 2 added suspects are Sergeant B.W. Sibande and Constable M.R. Koza. Those are the 2 suspects that when we took it in December 2022 for the decision, they were not yet identified.
Yes.
But now they were identified even though Koza is deceased.
And that is the Constable Koza, in respect of whom you have filed a, what's the document called? Death certificate, annexed as NPM 5 Roman 10.
That's correct, Commissioners.
Now, I see as well here, you have included, as you say, Constable Koza, you say since deceased, you have included Mr. van der Merwe, and that is Marius van der Merwe, and Mr. J. Hanekom. You were aware, as at the date of this report, that they are deceased, weren't you?
That's correct, Commissioners. I was aware.
Why are they still included on the list of suspects?
Commissioners, it's not for me to say because of now they are deceased, I must exclude their names. Because in the whole case docket, their names are always there. Even though I know that they will never be charged because they are no more, but I must include their names as part of my suspects, even though they are deceased.
Okay. Then that deals with your memorandum then to the DPP.
Can I just
Yes,
ask the
yes,
question?
Commissioner.
The death certificate of Constable Koza says he died from unnatural causes. Do you know anything about the circumstances of his death?
Yes, Commissioners. He was shot at his residential place. Yes. Yes, he was shot, Commissioners, and because it's an SAPS investigated docket, because it's his murder, even though I do have the details of the docket. But if the Commissioners will allow me not to mention the details as to how was he shot.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And on that score, to confirm, the death certificate is annexure NPM 5 Roman 10 at page 141. And it records the date of death as the 17th of October, 2025.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And to confirm, I think you earlier testified that you never had opportunity to obtain a statement from Constable Koza. It's not part of your warning statements that you have submitted and form part of the docket, is it?
That's correct, Commissioners. We're supposed to get his statement on the, I think on the 21st of October.
Yes.
We're supposed to obtain the statement. And then on arrival at the station, for him to make a statement, that is when we're informed that he died, I think on a Friday of that following the Monday
previous
we're
week.
supposed to meet up with him.
Okay. Thank you. Then you may pick it up from your paragraph 63.2 at page 17.
Okay. I filed a negative report with the Office of Eguruleni City Manager against 3 EMPD members. Brigadier Mkonazi, Constables Mackenzie and Stolz, as per item 2 of the report, and in direction the institution to institute disciplinary proceedings against them. A copy of this report is attached as Annexure NPM 11.
And that annexure NPM 11 appears, Ms. Masuku, in your annexure bundle from page 160.
Yes, Commissioners.
It is addressed, the heading is EMPD memorandum. It's addressed to the Office of the City Manager, Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Department. For the rest of page 1, it looks same as for the memorandum for the DPP. It lists all the suspects, gives the full details of the case. And if you turn over to page 161, under item 2, you have a heading there, case docket contents. And in paragraph 2 of item 2, it reads, in terms of section 30 of the IPID Act, number 1 of 2011, read with the South African Local Government Bargaining Council Circular number 1 of 2018, you are hereby directed to initiate disciplinary hearing against, and then you list 3 members there. Brigadier J.D. Mkwanazi, you have a number, service number. Constable A. Mackenzie, you have a service number, and Constable Kaylee Stoltz.
That's correct, Commissioners.
Now, this report, as with the previous, is dated the 4th of January, 2026.
February, not January.
I'm a month behind, thanks, Commissioner. 4th of February, 2026. It bears at page 160 a City of Ekurhuleni stamp demonstrating receipt, but unfortunately, not the full date is legible. What I can make out is 2026-02, which suggests February.
Yes, Commissioner, if you can check there is a small block on top,
Yes.
handwritten.
Yes.
Yes, is the details of an acknowledger with a date.
So
It's the
that is
4th
the
of
signature.
February, yes.
Thank you. And this, I see you have titled it page or recommendation type negative. This is the negative report. I think we have spoken about with yourself and Mr. Kifelakai that IPID files
Yes,
to
that's
the
correct,
police,
Commissioners.
recommending disciplinary action be instituted.
Yes, that's correct, Commissioners.
Okay, that then I think will lead us to paragraph 63.3. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just check something, Ms. Masuku? At page 16, starting from page 161, you've got that list of documents that you are providing to Ekurhuleni with this memorandum. And if you look at the next page, 162, from A39 to A42, it seems to be the same material that we were trying to be careful here not to speak to or not to provide too much detail of. This is that laboratory analysis. Does it mean that Ekurhuleni, EMPD now, or in fact, let me say the city itself, the municipality itself, does it mean that they have the documents that we were looking at earlier, which provide details of the forensic analysis and the conclusion?
That's correct, Commissioners. Commissioners, if I can just explain the process when we file a negative recommendation. It is when the case docket's investigation has been fully investigated. Then I will have to file the recommendation to the DPP to decide whether or not to prosecute. But for the department, I will have to file a negative because after the investigation, I will have a feeling that these members, they must be charged departmentally. And then filing that, I must give them the exact copy of a docket. All the documents that I took to NPA, I must give them all those documents as well. So everything, these reports we're talking about, they all have those reports. And what's bad about it, it's you will provide them with that report. The information, yes, it's for the information to charge the members. But the members, they must get that relevant information at the right time. But you will find that they will get the information before being formally charged. Then, if it's like that, it leads to other consequences that might happen before we continue with our criminal case. Because now they are having all the information before the department has formally charged them. But that is, according to the regulations, if ever we file the recommendations negatively, we must give all the documents in the case docket. That is why, in other instances, it will happen that you have a case of murder whereby a police officer has been arrested at the scene. You haven't filed a negative report as yet because you haven't done your investigation. You got that prelim to prove that he's the one who killed this person and it was not in the line of duty, so he must be arrested. Then you will find the department, because after getting that, you will follow up on the witnesses just to strengthen your case. Then you will find the department coming to you requesting for the copies of the docket of what you have. In that point, I must, as an investigator, I must use my own discretion as to should I give this department my copies or not. Because I must protect my witnesses. If I feel that I cannot give them this information because this is prematurely, by the time I get to trial, where will be my witnesses? Then I can say, no, I'm not giving you my case docket because I'm avoiding to expose my witnesses to danger. But that doesn't mean that the department cannot constitute the departmental on their own before my negative recommendation. If, like SAPS, if a member has been arrested in the cell, immediately they come to serve him with intention to suspend because already he's in the cells. He will be suspended for that period in the cells, then come back, go to work, then processes will follow. But already it's registered that he's got a file where he's been charged departmentally. But for EMPD, it's different. There are members, they will open their file. There are members, they will not open their files. Then the member will continue to work as normal. And they will not charge them departmentally, citing that they are waiting for IPID to provide them with a recommendation. But we find it not okay because the member was inside the cell and the crime committed is known. The department is supposed to do their own investigation and do their own processes while we are still busy with our investigation. But unfortunately, that's not for us to sort that out. We just do the investigation, use our own discretion to say, I'm not giving you the case docket copies, I'm not yet done with the investigation. Then up until I'm satisfied, then I will provide you. That's how it happens, Commissioners.
Now, and then let's come back where we are talking about municipal police. You've made a negative recommendation and you say you have to give them everything that you have. Is the IPID not considering to seek a change to regulations so that you protect some of the information? So, for example, when I look at your list, you have the name of a witness in that list. And I understand your explanation that you have to give them that name and you have to give them the statement of that witness because that's what you've given to the public prosecutor, to the prosecution.
Yes, yes.
You've given them that, so you have an obligation to provide. But it seems to me obvious that a witness's name and statement should not be shared if you're going to have a trial. It should not be given to the accused until those proper court processes, because there is a process when an accused person gets entitled to request a docket. But here with the EMPD, where you are giving them a negative recommendation and you say they should institute disciplinary proceedings, it seems to me obvious that a witness's particulars should be protected for the reasons that you have said. Your lab reports and all of that forensic evidence, it seems it needs to be protected. Has there not been a discussion in the IPID to seek a change in the regulations that compel you to provide this kind of sensitive information, to hold it back until an appropriate time to disclose it? Because it's easy to imagine that unless the municipality officials or management are scrupulous, they will easily share this information, or they can easily share this information with employees to assist them.
Mm-hmm. Commissioners, to date, it's according to our operating procedures, it's like that. We must give them all the case docket. Yes, we do have that concern as well, but there is nothing we can do because they will come, the department will come, like EMPD will come with an excuse to say, you gave us not all the information, so we cannot institute disciplinary against this person. But for the commissioner, that the commissioners are raising this, I'm happy my boss is here to listen, so that they can take it further. He was here earlier, maybe he left, but I know that he's watching wherever he is. They can have a look at that because it does compromise our investigation. Hence, even if my case, if it goes to court, it's fully investigated, it's ready for trial. But it doesn't mean that if it goes to court next week, then next month it's trial. It will depend on the court roll. Then it can take time to get the specific dates. But now, my witnesses are now exposed. By the time I get to trial, my witnesses are nowhere to be found. And it happens in a lot of cases that we end up losing. You go back to look for your witnesses, he's no longer staying there. He's no longer even found. More especially if it happens mostly to foreign nationals. Whenever they had open cases, very good cases, that we see that we'll be having conviction here, it's time for trial, you cannot locate them anywhere. Even if you locate them wherever you locate them, they are no longer interested because they've been paid. When you talk to them, no, I don't want to I'm no longer interested. We can't push them. Then we lose cases.
Yeah. And in the extreme cases, we've had evidence witnesses get killed to prevent them testifying.
Yes, that's true, commissioners. In our office, we have a case whereby it was sitting in Randburg Court, whereby the witnesses have testified. One of the witnesses, if I'm not making a mistake, was supposed to go the following day for cross-examination. Then they were assassinated just at the gate of the court in the morning before they get to court. It was a police case. They were testifying against the police officers. Because there will be in between, we cannot pin it back to the police officer.
That using these reports, maybe not put it in the way that it has been put here, because you leave it with the legal department, and once you've left this report with the legal department, nobody knows who the legal department shares it with and whether it reaches the suspects. before the disciplinary process has even started, and it can have various consequences.
I agree to that, commissioners, as to say things like this, because it's supposed to have a confidentiality. When it reaches that office, that officer in charge of this document is not supposed to share it, but they do share it. As a result of this, there were rumors and allegations to say one of the suspects died because they had access to what our final investigation is saying. And I can believe that because it happened immediately after we had given the department's copies. But I cannot say myself as an investigator, I cannot say that, no, I don't want to talk about this, because even my provincial head won't sign it if it doesn't have all the information that is necessary. Will return it back to me to say, no, this is not fully. So, but I think they are taking note of that. Maybe something will happen in future.
Thank you, commissioners. And perhaps, and it's not directed to you personally, you said your boss was still around, but even if he's not, the message gets to him. This might be an opportunity for IPID management to sit around a table with a view to formulate recommendations to the commission as to what legislative changes must occur to afford the very protections that we're talking of, firstly, but to enable nonetheless, so to determine the nature of information that is sufficient for the police departments to take disciplinary action. Yeah, so we could do that.
I see that Ms. Masuku's boss is back in, so he has heard what you are saying.
He has heard what we are saying.
Yeah.
So then we will come back then to the commission with IPID recommendations regarding appropriate changes to be made to the law on these issues.
Oh, thank you very much, commissioners. I will relay the message to our department, and I fully agree that it will also help us to have successful convictions, because we do prosecute, but some you can't convict because the witnesses were there in court to come and prove that this really happened. The case will, the others will be struck off the roll. It's better if it's struck off the roll. The others will be withdrawn. Then there is nothing we can do if the witness is saying, no, I'm not interested anymore.
Yes. Thank you. Commissioners, I know I've significantly eaten into your lunch hour. We are almost at the tail end of Ms. Masuku's testimony.
Let us finish with
Finish, yeah.
with Ms. Masuku, yes.
Ms. Masuku.
It's your lunch hour too.
Well, I'm sacrificing my own lunch hour, but I shouldn't encroach on yours. Ms. Masuku, that then brings us to your paragraph 63.3, if you could deal with that.
A final report to the National Commissioner of SAPS against 4 SAPS members, which is Reservist Constable Fritz, Sergeant Sibande, attached to Brakpan SAPS, Constable Exten, who is attached to Binoni Flying Squad, directing the institution to institute disciplinary proceedings against them. The 4th member is Constable Costa, whilst included in the list and was investigated as a suspect, is since deceased, having passed away on the 17th of October 2025. A copy of this report is attached as Annexure NPM 12.
And your NPM 12 is in your Annexure bundle from page 165.
I'm the commissioner.
And it is headed SAPS Memorandum and addressed to the Office of the SAPS National Commissioner, South African Police Service. And it is, for all intents and purposes, similar to the EMPD Memorandum, Annexure NPM 11, except for item 2 of the report at page 166, where you specify the names of the police officers against whom disciplinary action must be taken. Do you confirm that?
I confirm that, commissioners.
And I see the change there is this memorandum addressed to SAPS at 166, then instructs that disciplinary proceedings be taken against R. Constable A. Fritz, with the personal numbers reflected there, Sergeant Sibande, similarly with a personal number. You have listed Constable M.R. Koza, but as you indicated your paragraph 63.3, you are aware that he has since passed on. But I think based on the explanation you gave, you nonetheless retained them on the list when they were once suspects. Is that correct?
That's correct, commissioners.
And then lastly, Constable J.M. Xtien with a personal number.
That's correct, commissioners.
But the rest of the document reads the same as with the EMPD report for all intents and purposes. Similarly signed on the 4th of February 2026. And from page 165, at page 165, we note that there's a signature acknowledging receipt on the 4th of February 2026.
That's correct, commissioners.
Besides that, is there any other comment you'd like to make to this report?
No, commissioners, except for that Constable Koza is still here on the list. It's for SAPS to give us feedback and tell us that he is deceased so that we can just file the documentation, even though we know. But because we've got our own disciplinary processes as well, we must get a certain document from SAPS that will prove that he died, as well as the reservist Constable Fritz. We know that he resigned. He's no longer a reservist, but we retain him because when he committed crime, he was still a reservist at SAPS.
So it is for, if I understand you correctly, that it's for the SAPS to inform you that Right Constable Fritz is no longer a reservist and to give you proof thereof.
That's correct, commissioners.
Thank you. That then will take us to your paragraph 64.
It bears mentioning that the 3 reports list all suspects, including those since deceased. The reason is that although we had become aware of their deaths until IPID is formally so advised by SAPS, we must retain their names on the list of suspects. The matter is currently with the Director of Public Prosecutions, North Gauteng. A designated advocate had been allocated to the matter, for which our office is currently awaiting confirmation authorizing us to proceed with the prosecution of the various members of different security clusters, including EMPD and SAPS. The final consultation with the DPP will be from the dates mentioned in this report.
Now, you say you currently are waiting authorization to proceed with the prosecution. That's the request you have directed to the DPP, correct? In terms of paragraph 4 of your report.
That's correct, commissioners.
Now, when the DPP comes back to you and confirms that the DPP is proceeding with the prosecution, are there any further steps for you to take?
Yes, commissioners. When the final decision has been made to say these following suspects must be arrested, then I will have to make an application for J50, which is the warrant of arrest. Then once signed by the relevant magistrate of that court, then I will go out and execute the arrest.
So your decision to arrest depends on the DPP determining to proceed with the criminal prosecution and advising you as such.
That's correct, Commissioners, because remember that even if I can say I want to do it on my own, I'm not the one who will be placing the dockets on the court roll. And what is good about this matter is it's got its own advocate at the DPP who's dealing with it ever since, who has been guiding me to say, you do this, you do that. So the advocate understands, because I don't want to mention the journey.
No, don't.
The advocate understands very well as to how far we are. So we know that once the arrests have been effected, it's either the advocate will come to that specific court to place this docket on the roll, not to give it to these other prosecutors from that court.
Okay. And you have set out a date in paragraph 65 when you will be you'll be having a final consultation with the DPP on this matter.
That's correct, because I'm in contact with the advocate dealing with this matter. So these are the dates we agreed on to say we will sit down so that the final decision must be made.
And then thereafter, you will expect a formal decision by the NPA and you can take your next steps.
That's correct, Commissioners.
Okay. Then if you could deal with paragraph 66 and following.
I wish to further state on record that Marius, at the time of his death, had not been classified as Section 204, according to Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977. He was not classified as Section 204 witness because that can only be determined by the NDPP.
So we know Mr. Van der Merwe was killed on the 5th of December, 2025.
That's correct, Commissioner.
So you are saying, as at the date of his death on the 5th of December, he was not what we normally refer to as a Section 204 witness. He hadn't been so declared.
No, he was not a commissioner. He was still a suspect.
He was still a suspect.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
that is because it's a determination that can be only made by the NDPP.
That's correct, Commissioner.
It's not in your space to declare him or anyone such a witness.
No, we don't have that authority to do that. But even though, Commissioners, if I can just comment a bit on that, a Section 204 witness must tell all the facts of the matter that happened even if it incriminates him.
Yes.
But Marius didn't tell all the facts. So for me, he was not going to be declared as a Section 204 witness because he didn't tell all the facts. When he came to the commission, he added more information that he never told us.
Yes.
And then that information that was on the commission, going back to my case docket, I realized that, yes, this is what transpired because I've got some proof to refer to. Then he was not going to be declared as a 204 witness.
Okay.
Yes, he was not honest enough.
Okay. That's clarified, I think. If you then can deal with your paragraph 67 and following.
I would further like to add that during the investigations into this matter, 3 of the suspects were killed and their murder cases are investigated by SAPS. Killed suspects were Yako Wanekom, as per mentioned March 2023 Boxback case number, Constable Khoza, as per mentioned docket case number from Zakane of October 2025, who was attached to Brakpan Police Station. The above 2 suspects were killed days before meeting with the IPID personnel for interview in relation to this investigation. Marius van der Merwe was later killed as per case 75 of 12/2025, as well after giving the evidence at the MadlangaCommission of Inquiry. His murder case is investigated by SAPS as well. The timing and circumstances of these deaths raise serious concerns regarding the safety of the witnesses and the potential obstruction of the ongoing investigation, which the Commission should consider. A further suspect, Willem Pretorius, took his own life on the 7th of February 2026, as per mentioned case number.
And that then leads us to the next chapter. If you could just deal with that, both of them, those paragraphs.
Yes, commissioners. On this paragraph, there is somewhere whereby I've mentioned the case number of Yako Henekom.
Yes.
Even himself, we were about to see him when he died. We remember that on the day of incident, when he died, my colleague was in court for bail application that included stalls.
Yes.
In Mackenzie. On that day, that is the day because we were communicating with Marius. He was the one who was helping us as to how to get hold of these people because he knew them better, even though we were protecting him during that period because we didn't want them to know that he gave statement. We will find a way of getting hold of them, but we didn't want them to see that there is one of them who came out with the information. We had tried to make contact so that we can get a hold of Hanekom. Then he was aware that he was supposed to meet with us. But before we could meet him, then he was killed. Same applies to Kosa. But I am not saying he was killed because of this matter. But they died before we can meet up with them. Yes.
Noted. We are then on the part of your concluding remarks at page 19. If you could deal with that.
I am aware of allegations that IPID either deliberately sought to subvert the investigation into death of Mbense. I am also aware that some EMPD officers share this unfortunate view as testified before this commission by Chief of Police Mapieye and Commissioner Spies. Nothing could be further from the truth. I accept that these EMPD senior officers were unaware of progress in this matter. I confirm that we did not provide ongoing updates. We could not. This is so because we were investigating, amongst others, members of the very EMPD, and updates on investigation had a real risk of undermining our work. It was necessary to keep progress as secretive as possible, lest the suspects became aware of the progress made and the risk of arrest faced. In such circumstances, not only would the case be undermined, our lives will be in grave jeopardy. I am trying to explain, commissioners, that I understood that when the testimony was given by our EMPD senior managers, it's even South Africa took as if we were doing this deliberately so that maybe we are protecting EMPD officers, of which we are not. We do not report to the stakeholders. It's either EMPD, any MPS organization, SAPS organization. We don't report to them in progress of our matters. They will only hear from us if our investigation is finalized to say we are charging the following members. But that doesn't stop us from communicating with these senior managers. Because if a member falling under them committed another crime somewhere, I need to contact the senior officer at that precinct. If I will not be communicating with two senior officers that gave evidence testimony here, Julius Mkhwanazi must be contacted because it was his members. Whenever we investigate a member, on most of my cases, of our cases as a team, Julius Mkhwanazi must give the commander's statement. There is no way that we could have avoided to say, because we are investigating him in this matter, now we don't want to talk to him. We talk to them. Even not only them, any police officer, even if this police officer was charging him this morning for a certain matter, if another matter comes in, I will contact the same officer again because I'm doing my job. So,
Can I ask you a question, Ms. Masuku? Why not contact the chief of police in that department? Why contact a mid-level brigadier who's responsible for a division within EMPD? Why not contact the head of the EMPD if you are investigating members of the EMPD? I'll tell you why I'm asking. Suspicion arose, and we heard from the EMPD senior people who came here that every time IPID went to EMPD offices, they would have meetings with Julius Mkwanazi, and they, as chief of police and deputy chief of police, would not know what those meetings were about. And that created this suspicion that IPID is cozying up to Julius Mkwanazi and protecting him. So now that you have the context and the background, why not deal with the chief of police or deputy chief of police? Because the people you are investigating are also their members. They are not Julius Mkwanazi's members. Do you follow?
I follow you, Commissioner. Commissioner, I will respond, but I won't respond fully because I think my colleague who's coming will have to respond to that. So I don't want to take his responses, but in light, it's not that even them, they were never contacted. There is proof for that. They were contacted. And the level of communication, it's the same to all of them. Furthermore, we conduct our station, we call it station lectures to the members, to teach them about IPID mandate, because members, they tend to be hostile when we arrive at the crime scenes. More especially to the crime scenes whereby they have fired shots. We have to disarm them for the firearms to be tested. That is when the hostility will start to say, why are we disarming them? Because of, we think they've got a lack of knowledge of our mandate. They need to understand our mandate first before they can get to these conclusions they are having about the department. It's part of our duties to conduct the station lectures. There are few station lectures that were arranged with Julius Mkwanazi. They were fruitful. We went to their college. We did the station lecture. It was it's Mkwanazi who helped us in that. The reason was being because his members are complaining to say, we seize their firearms, they don't get them back. It takes time to be tested at our forensic laboratories. Even at their precinct in Kempton Park, where we've conducted a few station lectures there with other units, these senior managers were there. Even because we take photos, when we do that, our department wants photos to see who was there and all that. We have photos when we're standing with them, these officers. In my office, I've plugged them on the wall. I personally, even after they gave testimony, I personally spoke to one of them and said, I'm very disappointed as to, you can go to the commission and paint the effect that looks like we're not doing our duties. And they had wrong information thinking that this case was investigated by my colleague. Meantime, it was me. I said to them, if you wanted to know the details on the matter, you should have approached me. And the reason I was talking to him, Commissioners, I will be honest, I was not happy when Marius came to give evidence, because I was protecting him as well. I remember when I was called, when it started that I'm also needed, went for consultation to the investigators of the commission. When they told me that the following day Marius was going to appear, I told the investigator to say, my heart is sore. I wish I knew earlier, because I didn't want this guy to come and talk publicly about this. If there was other way of giving this information to the commissioners, that way was going to be used, rather than he come and talk publicly about this. Because my only concern was about his life. And to my concern, my case was towards the end of it. Then I realized that now he's derailing my whole investigation, because now everyone must know. And my worst worry was, even these people, they were confused as to who's the investigating officer, because we were trying to confuse them by all means. Then I became worried to say, because I'll be called here, now they will know that this is the investigating officer. Because to other people, they will say it's me. To others, they will say it's my colleague, Tulani Makakula. The others, they will say it's Tulani Tlamin. It was okay like that when they are confused. But now, because it came out, I blamed EMPD to say they should have called us to say we want to know what's happening on this matter. If they are not happy, we've got managers as well to talk to them to say we are not happy with their investigation. But two, it's not for them to tell us about our investigation. We are independent. We don't take any instructions from them. We do our duties. We are impartial. We don't want to be influenced by them. Hence, if ever we do our investigation, we won't go back to them to say, because I said contact Constable so this is how far I am with my investigation concerning him. No, you will hear from me the last day when I say I need Constable so after that, I won't tell you anything up until I file the negative report. So, commissioners, I know, even to South Africa, I know it looked like we were protecting officers. None of the officers we are protecting. My team, we are the most arresting team in Gauteng. Commissioners, at your own time, if you can just go Google arrest of EMPD members and see what you will find that will follow. You will see my personal car coming, because we are the only people that only come there to arrest those same EMPD members in their own offices. We will inform them, the seniors, to say, on this day, we are coming to arrest so and so. After that, we are gone. None of them is protected. But I understand it's because of this was involving Julius, and it took time for him to be arrested. But he was never protected. As you can see that his statement was taken long ago, not because of this commission. If the time comes for him to be arrested, he knows very well that we will arrest him. It's not that we are scared. We do get threats, yes. But that doesn't stop us from performing our duties. Hence, even this matter is finalized. If the instruction comes next week to say, effect arrest, I will go and arrest them. Then I will see later as to how protected I am, but I will have to continue with my duties. We've never protected anyone. We are communicating with the seniors, all of them, but I will pack it for my colleague to come, because he's got proof as to we've been communicating at the same level with all of them. But the picture they painted here, that's not a good one. And commissioners, I tell you, honestly so, if you go to Eguruleni, they hate Mr. Makakula because he arrests. That's the most arresting member. We are working together. Even if the threats comes, because the officials have got their WhatsApp groups on the teams, It's not all of them that hate us. Something will be posted about us. We can go there to make arrest. Maybe it's about 5 members from our office. We're making arrests to these members. We also invite SAPS to help us because we don't have vehicles to put these people when they are arrested. We don't have those kind of cars. We must use SAPS to transport the suspects. But if something comes out about that arrest on their groups that they socialize in, they will single out Nomsa Masuku and Thulani Makakula as these people, they hate us. Meantime, we're doing our duties. It's very painful for an officer, a high-ranking officer, to dent our image in a wrong way. Meantime, we do our job the right way. Thank you, Commissioners.
Ms. Masuku, it seems to me at least that you do provide an explanation at paragraph 69 why the suspicion would have arisen that you seem to be protecting Brigadier Mkhwanazi. And you explain that, well, it's because we couldn't share information with them. You couldn't tell people in the EMPD what it is you're doing. So I think insofar as it relates to Brigadier Mkhwanazi and maybe this case in particular, perhaps in fairness to them, the explanation you give at paragraph 69 that they would not have had information may well excuse them, from the views they held, the wrong view that they held. And perhaps also, let me speak for myself as well, that looking at the dates, for example, when Mr. Mbense was killed, discovered, when IPID became involved, until you explained that in fact there's been investigations. These are the things that it had raised a question about why would it take so long, right? Is IPID really doing its work? So I think those questions needed you in the witness box today to clarify and put any concerns, uninformed consent, it turns out from your evidence is clear that the concerns were indeed uninformed, that you have clarified them and perhaps take your piece from that, that you have explained to the Commission fully and to the nation that in fact the suspicions and concerns were uninformed and had no basis in fact because you have provided us with the facts of these investigations. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, Commissioners, I take that even though they've got my cell phone number, they should have called to say, we are intending to go to the Commission regarding this. Then I was going to be forced to, even though I was not going to go deep on my case, but I was going to be forced to show to them to say, you know what, the investigation is at this level. If you do this, you are exposing Marius van der Walt, because he will go there and talk, of which he gave me this statement in 2022, but I never told anyone, even in my office where I'm working in Johannesburg. My colleagues never knew that I was investigating this matter. When it was out on the Commission, everyone was asking as to what case are they talking about, because we know nothing about this matter. Because this matter, we kept it secret. Then for it to be announced, for me, it was very painful. If I had powers, I was going to come to the Commission and say, please, I'm pleading with you. Can I give this information on the side, not on this kind of a platform? Because I was protecting Marius. I didn't want him to come. And two, knowing Marius that he can talk, I was worried for the family to hear the full details of what transpired on the day of incident, the painful death of Mr. Mbense. I was forced to inform the family prior to prepare them to say, I've been informed that one of my suspects is going to the commission. Be prepared to hear more details that I cannot divulge to you because they are too painful. But it's done. I just thank the commissioners that I got this opportunity to come and explain, because commissioners, it's said we work for IPID, we've got identity card that we carry with ourselves. It shows from far that I'm from IPID. Even wherever in public areas, when you walk, they see this IPID thing. They say, wow, you're working for IPID? That corrupt department. And we are not. It's just that we are overworked. That's why our cases, they look so, the investigation is going very slow. We are overworked. It's very difficult for one member to carry more than 400 case dockets. You will work on this docket, you put it aside, you go with your cycle. By the time you get there, 12 months are gone on this one. You never came back to this one. In between, we have courts. Last year, for 3 full months, I was in court from the 2nd of April up until July. I was testifying at High Court, not going to the office. Imagine that there is 3 months that I've lost in my investigation of other matters. That one that I'm testifying also in, it's very important because somebody was killed. And thanks God, on the 16th, they are being sentenced. It's torture as well. That South Africa needs to know that we are working. It's just that they cannot see, but we are overwhelmed by work. We don't have knock-off times. You come to our offices, you will find me in the office 12 o'clock midnight. I'm still sitting in the office. The security guys of the building, they know me. I've got their contacts. When they see my car parked at the parking, they know that I will call them at midnight to say, come and open for me at the exit. I'm leaving now, I'm going home. The following day, I must be back to the office. That's the kind of work that we are doing. It's very stressful. It's too much work that we are doing, but we don't stop. We continue. So South Africa, you must bear with us. It's too much for us, but we will continue with the support of the community. If we don't get support from them, it's difficult for us. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Ms. Masuku. Commissioners, unless there are further questions, that is the testimony of Ms. Masuku. And I think for the record, I should place that I have exhausted the commissioner's lunch hour now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sello. Thank you very much, Ms. Masuku. We will adjourn and resume at 3 o'clock.
Yes,
but
Chair.
we want to see you, Ms. Sello,
Yes.
the commission secretary and the commission spokesperson outside now.
We shall be there, Chair.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Masuku.
Thank you very much, commissioners. But commissioners, before you leave, with your permission, I will request the commissioners to maybe have some recommendation to our department to say something can be done regarding the security for the members working for the department. May that be included in what Ms. Sello suggested earlier, which was that a supplementary statement or affidavit be filed with the commission suggesting what IPID wants to see done or wants the commission to recommend. And as I said earlier, Mr. Pelagai is here and he has heard everything. So I assume that you two, as being somebody who is in the coal face, as it were, will participate in that process, and that it won't be left to those in management, because people who actually experience it, who feel it, are people like you, the foot soldiers.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much.